Hi, this is Mish Hancock, and you are listening to MichMash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Heather J. Crider. Heather mindfully harmonizes your business and life, your profits and dreams, with a little help from neuroscience. Bring your brains to this one, you guys. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Mish. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, me too. I mean, when we first met, after we met, I left. I was all floaty and I was like, wow, she is into some amazingness that I don't think I fully can wrap my head around yet. And it's something that I want everybody to know about. It's fascinating. So like just tell us, what the heck are you doing, Heather?
Yeah, it's a complicated answer, but the short version is I'm trying to reduce mindlessness so we can reduce overwhelm and increase success and fulfillment. It's really that simple in business and life and everything. So we don't understand our brains. We've got these things here that we don't understand and we get stuck here. So, yeah, that's the short version is how do we really create beautiful, mindful harmony so we can have productive, happy, successful lives.
This sounds like a dream come true. Sign me up. I want to do this. So, talk about, I mean, what does that mean to us? How does someone get involved with it? Who gets involved with it? What's it look like?
Yeah, so a lot of different levels. I've been studying neuroscience. I started studying it for my own personal growth. And I became so intrigued by it, just in understanding how our brains work and understanding how our thoughts are direct relationships to our success or our failures and just really putting all those skills together. So, to answer that question, I work with people one on one, I work with businesses, and I have several different training programs and just kind of create things for people to help them understand. And depending upon where people are, what their goals are, what they've been through, a lot of times people have to overcome some mental barriers and roadblocks, and we work on that as well. So it's really, I've been in the business world. I started in the business world and I saw the direct relationship to being a fulfilled individual and being able to help innovation and success inside of business. And people think that they're opposites and they're not.
Not at
So,
all.
yeah.
No. Well, and so you have a successful background with your own businesses. So you know what it looks like to start a business and work a business. I mean, it's not like, oh, I have a certain, got this fancy certificate. You actually know.
Yeah. And I have failures too. I know what it's like to start things and fail. So yeah, I've been in the corporate world and I've started and successfully run several businesses. And I've also started things that haven't been so successful. So I
We
get
learn
it.
from those.
We we do, and that's what's the interesting thing about life and pivots. And I had a conversation with a lady recently and how people look at roadblocks, and it depends on your perspective. Is it a roadblock or is it a learning opportunity?
Right.
And that's, if we're really wanting to get ahead, not just really achieving success, but really meaningful fulfillment, those are very different.
Well, and that's true. I mean, and I understand what you're saying because I remember a time where a roadblock to me was just like, oh, I can't do this. I guess I can't do it. And at some point that started to turn and I would say, okay, this is interesting. What do I need to do to get through this? And also what I find so interesting is the answer for you is going to be different than the answer for other people.
Yeah.
You
No, that's
know?
It's so true. And when you think about how we learned to learn, we never really learned the emotional intelligence skills to deal with things like that. When you have a giant roadblock or a small roadblock, most oftentimes we don't really have those emotional intelligence skills to know how to overcome them. Some people just cover it up with a big tarp and pretend it's not there, and that's not very beneficial.
No,
So that's really one of the missions I have, is to help people with these skills to be able to look at things from different ways. And really, for me, everything's about reflection. And the name of my podcast is Go Reflect Yourself. And the reason I named it that is because if we can't take an honest look at ourselves first, how we're approaching things, how we're thinking about things, how we're dealing with things, and also understand how our brains are working in certain circumstances, we're always going to be misaligned. And so it's just really chipping away, mindfully chipping away one skill at a time.
I love it. So you are one of a few of something kind of cool. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I just completed one of the main trainings last week, and I'm coming off of this really beautiful experience of all of those skills I was just talking about. I've been in a year-long program, and you're gonna have to stop me because I'll talk about this for 5 straight days.
No, but it's very interesting. You have to tell people what this is. I had no idea this existed
Yeah,
until I met you.
yeah,
And when as soon as you started talking about it, I was just entranced. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. I have to know."
yeah,
So tell us.
yeah. So it's a leadership program. And it was actually started, tested, and perfected at Google. Google actually started this program. It's a neuroscience based mindfulness, leadership, and emotional intelligence program. They started it very big pioneering in the early 2000s to really help their very stressed and overwhelmed employees deal with that. And it
Wow.
became so successful that they decided they had to share it with the world. So they did, and they created a curriculum based, again, all evidence based, neuroscience backed. So several Stanford neuroscientists, some Harvard neuroscientists, Daniel Goleman, who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence,
Mhm.
Don Kabat-Zinn, who was kind of the forefather of modern day mindfulness, and the Mindfulness Institute helped contribute to the program as well. So Google created a training program where people can train, get certified, really learning how to embody and immerse first in the neuroscience, which I love, and that's what's intriguing to me. And then now we can share this with the world. It's really developed for leaders, corporations from all levels. A leader is an entry level person to the CEO, but it is also geared towards the public as well. So I am completing right now the year-long training certification program, and to date, there's a little less than 500 in the world that have gone through the program. So I'm very honored. It's been an amazing experience. I thought I knew a lot about neuroscience when I went in, and I was wrong. I know
Wow.
I know so much more now, but they're very adamant on understanding how the brain works from a neuroscience perspective. So everything is evidence based.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Because
you.
that's quite the achievement. And I know it was a lot of time and dedication to get there. It wasn't like, oh, an hour a week. Woo, look at me. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so why would I come to you? Tell me this. I am an entrepreneur, business person. Why should I engage Heather and her amazingness in my life right now?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, first of all, it's real results. And if we can retrain how our brain and thoughts function, and not to say that everybody's wrong, not to say that people think in a wrong way, that's a misconception. It's just looking at things in a more productive, efficient, less stress, less overwhelm. And right now, I mean, this environment we're in is a great example. This is an
Right.
incredibly challenging, stressful time. And if we can first learn skills to be able to handle things in a much more productive way, understand calm, not just in calm in sitting in a Zen state, but truly understanding where clarity, where innovation, where productivity comes from that calm. So I take things from what are your goals? What are your challenges? Now let's put a strategy in place to get there. And I have such a diverse background that I approach everything obviously from a business perspective, but how is our mindset involved in each key of the key areas? So when I work with individual clients, we create a strategy for you because your goals are going to be different, your skill sets are different, and your challenges are different. But everything we do comes back from a very strategic place of what's your objective, what's your strategy, what's your tactic, and how can I neuro coach you into getting there and cutting through layers and layers and layers of stress and really teaching you how to retrain your brain in a way where you can achieve these results faster and sustain your fulfillment without burnout.
And I can imagine that right now. So here we are podcasting in place due to COVID-19 and all that's going on right now. And it's been interesting. Like there's a part of me that is that I used to feel kind of guilty about it. Now I'm just like, it is what it is. That is like, this is great. I am getting so much done. I am not running around town. My to-do list used to be unending. Like I thought I'll never ever get to the end of this to-do list. And I'm actually finding now I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not overwhelmed. I'm just cranking it out like crazy. It's awesome. But then there's this other part of me that is like, I miss hugs, I miss friends, I miss this. You know what I mean? I'm zooming all day long. What we are doing right now is my entire day. I zoom all day long with somebody somewhere, groups of people, you name it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when I'm looking at everything, I'm realizing God, I'm really stressed out. Or, well, this is different. Why is this different thing happening to me right now? Like I used to never, ever get headaches. I'm waking up with a headache every morning now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on with that? That's a new thing. I used to never get headaches. Now I get headaches all the time. Is this a tension headache? Should I breathe more? What am
Probably.
I doing wrong? So I did. No, last night I was like, I have to breathe. I'm breathing more. But I'm putting attention to it because one, it's very interesting, which I'm a total student of life. I find everything going on interesting.
Yeah.
So even, it's like, oh, I have this headache. I'm like, why is that going on? What's new? What is happening? What do I have to do to stop this? How was it? I never got headaches. Now all of a sudden I'm getting headaches. I must be stressed out in new ways that I don't recognize, that I have to figure out what the stress is. And
Yeah.
can I do something about it? I
Yeah.
mean, I can't go around and hug everybody right now. That's for sure.
You're a connector. So this lack of connection is really a struggle and a little bit of a stress.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on something that you said because you took time. See, that's the important thing is space. And that's where mindfulness is a really big buzzword right now, and a lot of people don't really fully understand it. Mindfulness is not about a bald guy sitting on top of a mountain in a Zen state.
Right.
You can have that and you can get significant benefits from that, but neuroscience shows how mindfulness retrains the brain to be able to give space in dealing with stress in a productive way and have less stress to reactive types of things. But what you did by taking time, breathing, obviously, is way people don't realize.
How
And
important it is.
oh
You
my
don't.
gosh.
You don't realize how important it is until you actually sit down and start
Yeah.
taking the deep breaths and putting your mind on it. It is amazing.
But then what you're doing by allowing that moment, you're allowing to be able, and this takes training, but you're an intuitive person, so you're able to probably do this quicker than a lot of people. You can tap into your inner intuition. We have neurons not just in our brains, but we have them in our hearts and our bellies too. So those neural connections, that's why a lot of people feel that strong gut feeling. It's actually a neural connection.
Okay.
So what you're doing when you're breathing and you're taking time and reflecting is you're able then to ask questions that you can get real answers to. So that's when people, I think about, I observe my children so often because children have a difficult time just sitting still. But there's a lot of really brilliance that comes from sitting still. Sometimes it's just rest, but sometimes when you're able to tap in, you can calm the stress part of your brain and then you can tap into your intuition. That's when you can get a lot of clarity. So for
Right.
you, just by saying, asking yourself those questions, you can get real answers then.
And understand how how to be in the place you are at that time,
Yeah.
because we don't have control over everything, but we do have control over us, how we approach things, how we view and think about things. And so I mean that's kind of, I think, I've just always had a natural curiosity. My thought was always, I got this thing in my head and I don't really understand it,
Yeah.
but it's so interesting. So I'm going to check it out a lot and figure out what I can do with it.
Which is great. And again, a lot of people don't have that type of clarity to notice it. Sometimes people try to get rid of it. Like, what is this
Right.
voice that
But
keeps coming
it's
up?
fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. Everything's great.
Yeah.
Really?
There's so many layers, and that's when you ask me why should people work with me, there's so many layers to that. The short answer is to get real results, real success that's sustainable and meaningful. It's not just one thing in all of these things that you're talking about, just having that clarity, having that vision, but it all comes from within. And that's, we are so overloaded in our society, in our world of
Yes.
read this book, read that book, do this, do that, go to this seminar, which is all great, but we've got to go within first. And, it sounds cliche, but I've always said if we fail to go within, we go without, because we're denying what's truly of value to us. We're denying our true intuition. And that's with everything. That comes in compassionate leadership, that comes in dealing with difficult conversations, that comes with dealing with our employees, with our coworkers, with our bosses. So this is a very layered topic here, which is why I went through the Search Inside Yourself program, to be able just to add more of these skills and these emotional intelligence skills. And people are seeing the need now more than ever, just because we are in this more challenging environment. But if we really want that true success, and
Right.
whatever that looks like, maybe it's just a little extra time with our families. How can we do that and be mindful and purposeful? And it's just connecting all those pieces together.
I love it. So where do people find you?
Yes.
I mean, you're actually really easy to find. Just Google
Very,
Heather J. Crider.
that's
Now
it.
you're a friend of Google. They're probably like, get it out everywhere.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure.
It was all for SEO purposes.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Google kind of, they know what they're talking about, don't they?
No kidding. But what is your website and
Yep.
all
Heather,
that good stuff.
yeah, it's really simple. Heather J. Crider. My podcast is under goreflectyourself.com. You can connect with me on heatherjcrider.com, and then Instagram, Facebook, everything is under Heather J. Crider.
I love it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for Mish's questions?
Yes. I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, you're so ready. My first question, and this is where we have such a sisterhood because I happen to see that you love coffee, and I love coffee. So, what kind of coffee do you drink at home? Do you have
Yeah.
like a go-to coffee?
I have, so I'm kind of embarrassed. I have a quite a routine for my coffee, and it takes a good half hour to go through. I buy different
Wow.
beans. The most common bean I buy, just because I like to support local, is Goshen beans or Blueprint beans. But
Oh,
I grind them myself first thing in the morning, and then I make either a French press or pour over, but I usually have a bulletproof first thing in the morning. But I love just good quality beans. Yes.
oh, wow. I do bulletproof coffee in the morning too.
There you
I
go.
use ghee. What do you
Okay.
use?
Yeah, coconut oil. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, I do that first thing and then but I'm not as fancy. I love coffee, but the regular old electric drip. Although I do pour over sometimes, which people don't get how yummy that is.
Oh, it just the flavor is just
And it's easy.
indescribable.
I mean,
Yeah,
it really is actually easy, but I like just put the button on. All right, off I
I
go.
know. I know.
Oh, well, cool. And Blueprint.
Yeah.
Now, what's Goshen?
Goshen is based in Edwardsville, Illinois. That's where
Ah,
they're a
okay.
roaster. So they actually provide beans locally to a lot of the coffee shops. So I buy their beans to support the local roasters.
Yay. Support local. We love that.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone you would just really, really, really love to meet?
Ah, that's honestly, that's such a difficult
I
question.
know it can be 10 people. I don't care.
I know.
Or type of person.
Yes. Well, you were on my list, so
Oh,
I was ready
yay.
to meet you.
That makes me feel good. Thank
So
you.
we can scratch that one off the list. So yeah. Um, y- Again, it sounds a little cliche, but the Dalai Lama, I think, would be an incredible joy. Um, and I heard that he's a really funny dude. That
Oh,
was a
fun.
summary of him. So I think that would be fascinating to see to
Like you
see
think of
him.
him as being all spiritual, but then he's like cracking jokes. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll give him a call.
Okay. Thank you.
I will tag him in this post.
Okay. The
All
funny,
right, so go ahead.
yeah, just the tag him funny dude, Dalai Lama. See if
Funny
he,
dude, Dalai Lama. I'm sure that'll get him. He'll be
yeah,
like, I am a funny dude. I'm gonna call that Heather J. Crider.
that's right.
So I happened to see that you wrote an article recently.
Mhm.
What is our happiness superpower?
Yeah. It really is a lot of things, but intentionality, and just in those moments of making a decision. That's why I like phrasing things from, if we can reduce mindlessness, then we can be more intentional. So just if you think about that cup of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and you made that cup of coffee exactly the way you wanted it, and how yummy and satisfying it is, and how much pleasure you get out of that. That was an intentional decision. And so the more that we can tap into that with everything, small and big decisions, we can be so much more powerful and start living in a more powerful way because we're intentional. And that bleeds into people doing things they don't want to do, making decisions they don't want to do. So it's a very intentional process, but it blends into making mindful decisions, but living each moment in that presence. And People can
I love it.
increase their joy and their happiness so much more just by taking that little shift in perspective.
So I have this other thought, there's when you were saying, Mish, you're really intuitive, and there's this thought out there, right, where people are like, she's kind of woo woo. And I talk about woo woo. I'm like, I'm kind of woo woo, and I know woo woo people, but what I find intriguing is that there's you've got like a science behind the woo woo, the neuroscience,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and when you talk about these neurons, in your brain, in your gut, in your heart, and I mean, they're talking to each other. They give you thoughts and insights into what's going on in your world. It's kind of like that whole thing of, should I go left or should I go right?
Hmm.
you know what I find fascinating is that sometimes you think I should go left, and then you get there and go, oh, I think I wish I'd have gone right now. Wait, I don't want to go left, this is too hard. But then you realize later, oh, I was supposed to learn that lesson.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so is that part of what you're helping people to get to, that place where they are really, they're listening to their gut, they're listening to their heart, they're actually listening to themselves as the human being they are, which is an incredibly unique experience to every single individual on this earth, right?
Hmm.
Is that part of what you're helping them get to?
Yeah. At the end of the day, people really want a shortcut to success.
Mm-hmm.
And doing hard work, it's hard work for a reason. So, what I'm trying to do is put it in a way that you understand. So, if you're faced with a very difficult decision, you're depending upon what it is, you might just get so stressed that you can't make that decision. And if we
Right.
understand how our brains work, there's a concept you may or may have not have heard of called neuroplasticity, and it's a more recent neuroscience discovery. Most people used to think that as you age, you lose brain cells and you just get older, and that's just the way it is.
Right.
Neuroplasticity is actually teaching us that we can strengthen different brain regions based upon how we use them. So it's kind of like going to the gym. If I go and I do squats all day, nothing else, I'm probably going to get my quads nice and firm, my glutes nice and firm, but maybe nothing else. So I'm
Right.
strengthening that muscle. Neuroplasticity works in a very similar way. So if I'm negative all the time, I'm stressed all the time, I'm overwhelmed, I can't make decisions, and I think in those ways, I'm strengthening those negative spots in my brain, if you will. So if you can learn, number one, it's not just thinking in a positive way, it's really learning how to rethink. And then the more you strengthen different parts, and different brain regions fire differently, and we don't need to get into that much detail, but you can actually strengthen different parts of your brain, so that way it's less stress in making a decision, and it's more resilience. And it's also learning from an emotional intelligence capacity how to, when you do make a decision that you may have not been pleased with, it's reflecting and learning, maybe not what the lesson so much, but what did you learn and how did you feel and what did your body tell you? So it's all of these signals together. Your brain is constantly signaling, and sometimes we don't listen. So yeah, I'm helping people to be able to put all those pieces together to bounce back faster.
Oh, I
Setbacks are
love
going
it.
to happen. They just don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Heather, thank you.
Yes.
I so appreciate you being a guest today, and I love your brilliance. I love the things that you've done and are doing. I will be hanging out with you more, ma'am.
Oh, well, I can't wait till we can connect again in person and get a real hug. So,
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like gonna like put I'm gonna be at this place this day. If you need a hug, come see me. I'm gonna just hug all day. I'm
yes,
like ready. Yeah, I love it. We'll have a hug day.
I love it. Any day.
All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for being on today. Everyone out there, you've been listening to MichMash. Go to Apple Music to find us and all your favorite podcast platforms. Have fabulous days. And I'm hoping that you all have peace as you shelter in place. Love you all. Bye. All right, we did it.
Yay!
Thank you, darling. I
Absolutely.
will totally be in touch with you. I will be in touch with I'm so intrigued by what you do. It's
Thank
just
you so much.
fantastic. I think it's amazing.
I really appreciate it.
So keep up with me too. Like when you're
Yes,
doing something super interesting, well, you always are, but every once in a while tag me in something that I can share with everybody.
sure. Happy to. No, can't wait to be able to share more with the world and just us all to connect and grow together. That's what it's about.
I love the whole thought of, because it is, everybody's overwhelmed, it not being overwhelmed would be a nice thing for a lot of us because you can feel it. I mean, I've seen the ugly side of some people during this time, just being at the grocery store and people that are acting crazy. And I'm like, whoa, dude. I mean, breathe, breathe. It's like, oh my gosh. And just, and I know it's stress. I know the guy was overwhelmed and stressed out, but he's taking it out on everybody around him. And oh,
And
yeah,
that's, it's okay. It just is, but it's also catching and then making a decision. It's okay to be stressed. And that's where
right.
people feel like it has to be one or the other. If I'm stressed, it means things are bad and I shouldn't be stressed. It's okay, but it's your choices you make when you are. And, your grocery store example is great. I might be stressed, but if I just take a deep breath, everybody's in this together. I'm going to
Yeah,
do my best. And we can all be a little bit better. And compassion, Jeff Weiner, the LinkedIn CEO, he had a great talk and I'm so fascinated with him. That would be somebody I would want to meet as well. But he developed an entire leadership model throughout LinkedIn on compassion. And
really.
yes, and it's so amazing. And obviously, LinkedIn has done very, very well.
Yeah,
But he said something that I thought was so beautiful. And he said, if kids can be taught at an early age in schools and everywhere how to truly be compassionate, just imagine how much better the world can be.
it's so true.
I just love the thought. And it's, if we can just take a moment, it's more than just us. We're all dealing with things.
Maybe this person was acting this way because, like think of it from their standpoint. You don't know their life. You don't know what their family is like. You don't
Yeah.
know if their family's going through something right now and they acted that way and that was crappy and what
Yeah,
have you, but also hold space for them,
exactly.
hold space for them.
Exactly.
All right, darling. Well, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. So
Have
good.
a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.